Hello, my name is Pat Harry, and I was asked to talk to you a little bit about how Jesus has changed my life. And I think it's pretty important, though, to talk to you a little bit about how did I even become a Christian? How did I get to know Jesus? I can remember years ago when Nancy and I lived in Haddonfield, New Jersey. I was asked to give a testimony. And oh my goodness, I just fretted over that because so many people got up and talked about how Jesus had changed their life, and they had these very life-changing experiences. I didn't have that. I had something really different than that. And that was because I was just raised a Christian by my parents from day one. You know, we just were talking at the confirmation class that I was part of about having a personal relationship with Jesus. And I didn't know till only a few weeks ago that no place in the Bible does it say you're supposed to have a personal relationship with Jesus. But it does imply that many, many different places and gives you examples of how different people in the Bible had their own personal relationships with Jesus. So how do you get started? Or how did I get started? Well, it was my parents. From very start, my relationship with Jesus started because of my parents and the example that they set in their everyday life. They did not have a great Bible knowledge. They knew the Bible, but they were not Bible scholars. They didn't have evening devotions, any of those type of things. But what they did do is they modeled through servanthood with others how a Christian should live. And I remember back when I was just a young fellow living down in Wyomissing, Pennsylvania, we had Aunt Flora and Aunt Ella, two elderly ladies, probably my age now, right? And my parents would pick them up and take them to church every week. And we did that for years. They had them for dinner. They made them part of our family. That was one of the first examples of servanthood I saw. But the other type of things that my parents modeled for me was the church was important to them. We always went to church. We were part of it. My parents were youth leaders at two different United Methodist churches, and I saw how they worked. I heard them witness to youth after youth for many years. So it became natural for me to do the same. When I became a teenager, it was really the natural thing for me to do the same thing that my parents had modeled for me. They had a good knowledge of the Bible, but I can't tell you I learned the Bible from them. What they did is, since they didn't have that knowledge, they put me with others. For instance, I went to Sunday school. I was part of my youth group through my whole high school career. They put me with other adults who modeled and witnessed to me. And so I learned from them and from these other people, things that maybe my parents could not have done themselves. My mother was probably my best model. She talked to me about Jesus, and how she did that is she would say, Pat, you have a decision to make. What you want to do is say, what would Jesus do? There was a saying going around years ago, what would Jesus do? Well, my mother was saying that in the 1950s and 1960s to me. So it became a very natural thing that I learned to pray to Jesus and ask him for guidance in how he would go about doing it. Now, I'm not going to sit here and tell you I heard this voice come down from the heavens that Jesus spoke to me personally. But what I will tell you is that I've had a relationship with Jesus through many of you right here watching this video. People like the Band of Brothers. We sit in our small group, we talk, we learn about the Bible, we talk about situations in life. And some of the prayers that I have had, I've heard the answers come through the experiences and examples that they've had. I think the other thing is that people such as the pastors in their sermons, you can hear answers to your prayers through pastors or some of your friends, just in daily conversation. I'll pray about something, and a couple weeks later, I'll be talking to one of my friends, and I will hear what I think is God speaking to me through my Christian friend and giving me answers to my prayers. So if you want to have a personal relationship with Jesus, you need to hang out with people that know Jesus. I was a sales manager in my life, and I used to always tell my new salespeople, if you want to be a successful salesperson, you need to hang out with the successful salespeople. I believe the same way about Christianity. If I want to be a strong Christian, I need to hang out with Christian people. Hanging out with people that don't know or show bad examples, contrary to the Christian life, I don't think really gets you into that personal relationship. So that's the first thing you need to do, is you need to get around successful people. And you do that by going to church. But more important than just showing up on Sunday mornings, I think it's so important to go to a small group. I already gave you an example of how Jesus has spoken to me and answered my prayers through my small group. And I think you need to get into a daily prayer habit. I say a lot of breath prayers. And that's one reason I think I have a personal relationship with Jesus, is that I start each and every day with prayer, but there are many days that I will see situations that I will just say a little breath prayer and ask God for his guidance or his blessings on somebody or to help somebody else. And that back and forth that I have in those prayers, I think is so important. So my parents gave us a great example, but they didn't keep it to themselves, and I can't keep it to myself. So my wife and I, we both have done the same thing they've done. We've modeled to our sons. And if anybody knows our sons, you know that they also have become very strong Christians. We used a lot of wonderful people in our church. Paul Bachman, back in the day, was the youth leader. He was a great model to our guys. People like Stephen Gallagher at Salt and Light Youth Ministries, or one of our friends, John Seltenheim, has been a mentor to my boys. And they see how Christian men act and show love to God. And I think that's an important step to be able to take. So the tradition continues in the Harry family. This didn't start just with my parents, but it started with their parents and their grandparents. And I feel there's an obligation for Nancy and I to pass it not only to our boys, but to our grandchildren, to let them know how to love Jesus and have a personal relationship with him. Thank you very much.